and Perry. This is so awesome. This is so cool.
Yay!
Yay! Oh my God! Thank you so much for doing this. So I'm doing a live game. So hello, everyone. That's for company. We are sitting with Ann Perry, a numerologist of which I've had the pleasure of having a reading with. And then it was recommended to me through a family member who had a reading with you, told me that I had to do it, and glad I did. And then we got to meet and had a reading, sat with that for a bit, read all my reports and my charts and stuff, and it is pretty, I would say, scary in a good way that it's quite accurate. So that's where very, very accurate. So then, yes, I had the idea for a podcast with you, and you inspired me to do a live. So this is my very first live. And here I am. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
And you're doing great. You're doing great.
So here we go.
Great.
So, those that are not familiar with you or what numerology, all the good stuff that I'd love to get into. So, firstly, what drew you to this in terms of numerology? How did you come to this pathway before we kind of get into more of a breakdown of really what it is?
So first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I really do. It's so much fun doing the lives, and I just love helping people get there because I do them all the time. It's fantastic.
I wouldn't have done it without you. I was too wait. I'm being honest. I'm like, have you done one? I'm like, no. Like, I don't know. I have no answer. I don't know.
It's harder doing them all by yourself. So at least we got company. So anyway, the how I got into it, I've always been a bit of a seeker. I've always had an interest in astrology, numerology, tarot, angels, ghosts, whatever, everything that goes bump in the night kind of thing. Always a curiosity about why I'm here. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to nail my purpose? That kind of thing. I've had that since I was probably 7 years old. When I was about 43, yesterday, no, a little while ago, I was really keen to learn more. So I was in a bit of a funky place, I'll call it, not a bit of a dark place, if you want to know the truth. I felt really confused, very directionless, without purpose, very depressed, wanted to leave my husband, wanted to leave my kids, wanted to leave my business, all of it. Right? I was really in a bad place. I kind of made my way out of it, kind of dug my way out, and it was okay. And several years later, I was introduced to a book about numerology. And when I started studying it, the first thing I wanted to do was find out what the heck was 2003 all about, because that was just a bit of a, dark place. So anyway, I looked at it and went, holy crap. If somebody had told me, hey, Ann, you're about to go into a really funky, crappy place, but guess what? The good news is you're going to be coming out of it at this time. I would have entered it much differently, and I would have coped with it better because I would have known that there was a start and an ending to it. But when you're in it, it's just dark, and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So the beautiful thing about numerology is it shows us, well, that's one thing it shows us, is that there are cycles that we go through, and some of them are difficult and some of them are really great. But, it's a reasonably easy system to learn. It takes a while to kind of put the pieces together. But once you understand the numbers and whatnot, you can figure it out, where you're going and why you're in it, because life is always happening for us. Rather than to us, right? We're not victims unless we choose to be, even when we are going through those crappy places. And then when I looked into it further and I recognized that my life path number was a 7, it was like, all right, I get it now. Like, you just can't deny that. 7 is the spiritual seeker. They are the spiritual teachers, the analysts, the overthinkers, spiritual people. So yeah, that's how I got into it. Yeah.
Now, okay, so here we go. So, because you said like 7 is your number, and that's so for people that are like, and also for me, because I'm obviously very new to this. Yeah. So as a scope, what is numerology? So like what, and for no one that for some that have never heard the term or don't understand what that is or what that encompasses, what is numerology?
So numerology, I like to call it, we're just learning how to speak numbers. Numerology is like a language, if you will. Okay. It was there's differing ideas as to who discovered it. I go with the theory that it was discovered by Pythagoras. Greek mathematician, about 2,500 years ago,
Mhm.
when he discovered that numbers hold vibrations and all vibrations produce predictable characteristics around them. So he learned that the numbers from 1 to 9 are very distinctly different. He's also the one that discovered, notes in music. So it's always about vibration. When we talk about energy and vibration, with numerology, for example, your name holds a vibration. It's made up of letters that we assign numeric value to. Okay. My name, case in point, my first name is Ann, A-N-N. And when that's our first name creates what we call our growth number, right? So this gave me a clue as to what I'm supposed to be doing in this lifetime. I knew as what we call a life path 7, and we'll explain that here in a second a little bit more, but as a life path 7, I knew I was a spiritual teacher, but what the heck am I supposed to be teaching, or who am I supposed to be inspiring? And the clue came from my first name, which vibrates the vibration of the number 11, which is a very distinctly high vibration that when somebody, turn the fan on, sorry. When somebody is an 11, they feel it, they know it. They may not be able to say, hey, I'm an 11, right?
Right.
About numerology, they're not like, come out and say that, but they feel different. They feel like this isn't their planet. They feel like they don't fit in here. This is like, it's just a really difficult, very highly sensitive energy. So as my growth number was an 11, the 11 said, oh, okay, I'm supposed to speak to them, right? So I became a specialist with the master number 11s. So that's just one clue. Even just looking at the first name,
right?
Your first name on your birth certificate tells a lot about you. Like, for example, in your case, your first name starts with an S, right? Well, that vibrates at the number 1, which says I'm a self-starter. That's why you're doing this podcast,
Right. That's crazy.
Originality, creativity, authenticity, leadership, all of that comes from that.
That's great. I don't know. I find it baffling. Like I find it so cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. So my birthday.
Yep.
I'm putting it out there. I mean, I'm not 21. Every year, 21. My birthday is June 25th of 85.
Okay. So what we're going to do, there are different, I want to get this out of the way because I know there'll be some people watching going, what the heck? Like, how's this even going to work?
Right.
Because they're going to have a theory that says, oh, we just take all those numbers and we're just going to add that straight across.
Okay.
Right. So
I would have, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And most people do. But it is my feeling that when you do that, you don't always get the most accurate life path number. So your date of birth creates what's called the life path number. The life path number tells us what it is you've agreed to learn in this lifetime.
Okay.
In my date of birth, if we were to add all of the numbers just straight across, I'm March 25th, 1959, add all those numbers straight across, it's going to come up as a 34. Okay. And then we reduce it to 7. 3 plus 4 equals 7. Okay. So my life path number is a 7. But the question is always, well, what kind of a 7 are you? Well, if we add the numbers straight across, I become a 34-7, which means I've come to learn the sub lessons related to the number 3 and also to the number 4 so that I can be the best number 7 I can be. Does that make sense?
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So sub lessons are like smaller lessons that help us to get the big lesson, which is always that finished number. When we reduce the numbers, the 3 plus 4 equals 7. That's the big fat hairy kahuna, right? That's the one that we're aspiring to learn the lessons about. But how we get there is determined by those numbers that we have to add up first.
Okay.
So in that case, that would make me have to learn how to be a communicator. I don't have any issues communicating or expressing myself or writing or creativity. I have no issues with that at all. So that didn't make sense to me. The 4 says I have to be on time. I have to be scheduled. I have to be practical and grounded and attention to detail. Oh man, I got all that, right? So none of that really worked for me. So when I was introduced to the work of Matthew Oliver Goodwin, Matthew said the better way to do it would be to break down each component of the date of birth separately. So when you do that with my date of birth, now my date of birth becomes a 16-7. Which means I have to learn the lessons, the sub lessons related to the 1 and the 6 to be the best 7 I can be. So remember what I said. What kind of a 7 are you? Are you a 34-7? Are you a 16-7? Are you a 25, 7, all those numbers, 25, 2 and 5 equals 7, 1 and 6 equals 7, 3 and 4 equals 7. But everybody, it's right. But we're all trying to become a 7, but how we get there is determined by the numbers we have to add up first. Okay. So that's why Matthew said it's really important that we know what kind of a 7 are you. So when we look at, again, my date of birth as an example, and I'll get to yours here in a second, 1, 6. The 1 says I have to develop confidence. I have to become a leader. I have to be more authentic and original, develop confidence to put myself out there in an original way. That took a lot for me to do that and to learn how to be independent. Right. The 6 related to me learning lessons related to responsibility. And God knows it wasn't because I wasn't responsible. It was that I was taking on too much responsibility. So that was a problem. Anyway, but those were lessons I got. And the fact that the 16-7 has a karmic debt that I totally get, right, that I'm paying back for. So when we get back to your date of birth, Stephanie, it's and we break it all down. We have June, you're June 25th, 1985. So June is the 6th month. We write down number 6. Okay. The 25th day, 2 and 5 equal 7. Yeah. Okay. And then we take 1985, we add that together. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 8 is 18, plus 5 is 23, and 2 and 3 equal 5. So we've got 3 numbers now that are all reduced. We have 6, we have 7, and we have 5. And that all adds up to 18. So your life path number is a 9 because 1 plus 8 equals 9. Okay, so 18, 9. You're not a 27, 9. You're not a 36, 9. You're not a straight up 9. You were an 18, 9. So I find it fascinating that you're in the line of work that you are, because I feel that you are doing what you can to help people to step back into their power, that you're trying very hard to help others to be empowered. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're doing that your way. You know, you're doing it in an original way. You're bringing on original topics, original speakers. You're bringing in different things to explore. Yeah. You know, even the idea of having a podcast is a little different. It's still reasonably new to be doing podcasting, right? But you're doing it. So the 1, you're an 18-9. The 1 says I have to be original. I have to be authentic. I have to be a leader. I need to be creative, inspirational. Right? I got to be a little bit more confident to take some risks, some chances. Hello, podcast live on Facebook. And then the 8 relates to your relationship to your own power and authority. It relates to your relationship with money. You know, do you feel worthy of the money that you're bringing in? Do you feel worthy in your relationships? Do you value yourself enough so that others can value you too? Do you set healthy boundaries?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you're the 9, and the 9 is the extreme giver. The 9 is the one that says, I'm the humanitarian. I will fix you because you're broken. You know?
Right.
You guys have no filter. Just come on over here. I'll take care of you. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's okay. So that's one aspect of looking at a date of birth. So in your case, we looked at the life path number. So that's one aspect. So that tells me the lessons that you need to learn so that you can confidently explore your purpose, right? Which is to be that humanitarian, to be the teacher, right? To be the person who loves the planet, you know, that has an interest in the environment, has an interest in people, has an interest in animals, you know, all of that. Yeah. Clean eating possibly, and just finding solutions to things, right?
Yeah.
So that's the life path number. The next one we look at, if you want to determine what can we learn from looking at a date of birth, we can look at the day you chose to be born on. So you're born on the 25th day. Add 2 and 5 together, it comes in as a 7. So that's another sub lesson to your main lesson. So this gives us a clue that the work you're intended to do should involve things like woo-woo, right?
Yeah, we always call it woo-woo.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like numerology, astrology, tarot, all those sorts of things. Anything to do with spirituality is a good fit for you because that is one of your sub lessons, to explore that. When we look at the fact that you were born on a 7 energy day, 25th day equals 7, that says that you can be a bit of an overthinker.
Yeah.
Right? Over assessing things, over examining things, questioning things, self-doubt, you know, that repeating voice in your head and that sort of thing. And, you know, you drive away and you're asking yourself, oh, damn, did I lock the door. I know I locked the door. I'm sure I locked the door. I got to go back and check, right? And you go back and you check, and the door's locked, right?
Yeah.
But you won't let it go until you check it again, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's the sub lesson that you're here to learn, but it's also asking you to tap into something much bigger than yourself. So recognizing that you can't run the show all by yourself. You have to sometimes surrender and trust that Spirit's got your back.
Yeah.
So that you can do the work that you're meant to do, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. The other thing that we can look at is the personal year that you're in. So there are 9 years that we observe.
Right. Yeah.
So every January is our theory that every January you go into a new personal year, as does the universe. The universe goes into a new universal year. So in 2022, we have 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. So everybody on the planet is under this umbrella influence of the 6 energy, right?
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily where you are personally. You'll be influenced by the universal energy, but it's not where you necessarily are personally. So personally, what we're going to do is we're going to take your month of birth plus that reduced day of birth. 25th day comes down as a 7.
Okay.
And now we're going to add that to the universal year, which is a 6, because 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6. Okay. So we have 6 plus 7 is 13. Plus 6 is 19.
Okay.
1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. That means that you're in a 1 personal year.
Okay.
So, which is great for the purpose of illustration here. We have a 1 personal year, so that works because we've got a 9-year cycle that we're looking at. So you just went in January 1st of this year, you had a full cup of 1 that says, come on, Stephanie, start something new. Let's do this thing, right? Plant some seeds, get some ideas going, meet some new people, come up with a bit of a plan. It's go time, right? Lots of energy moving you forward this year. Not so much last year, but lots moving forward this year. So it's very demanding on you to get things started. So we have that full cup of whatever that vibration is in January. In your case, it's a 1, spilling out over your calendar, influencing you to start something new. By the time you get to about September, October, that energy is almost gone, and you find yourself kind of getting a little tired, like you're hitting a brick wall. So what's happening is that energy of the 1 is almost gone, and what's happening is the new energy of the 2 vibration is coming in, and that 2 vibration is going to be asking you to sit in your timeout chair, rest, restore. No, don't start something new. Just get in your timeout chair, rest and restore, gain your strength again. Take a look at, I know, right? It's not easy. Gain, yes, especially for someone like yourself who's such a doer and feels such a responsibility to be there for everybody all the time. It's hard for you to just sit back and say, it's okay. I just have to regroup. I just have to nurture what I started last year, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a year next year where you're going to have to kind of lay low a little bit, getting ready for the following year, which is going to be go time again. It's a 3-year. So there's a different, different cycle, different vibration for each year.
That's crazy to me because how my year started, like looking back on it, how my year started versus exactly where I am right now. It's just, it's very, very accurate where I started several projects, personal, professional projects, mid-February-ish. Like, I think more so like, getting everything ready and organized, and then we're chipping away at things. And now I'm at the point where this summer and now it's been very much not wrapping things up. I don't want to say wrapping things up because they're not done necessarily, but it's very much okay. I have everything kind of laid out, and now it's like I need to reprioritize. I need to settle, and I very much went through I'm gonna in my natural fashion. I'm going to lay it out, and what am I going to work on first? And right now, it's been very much for me get some things in order, and I kind of stopped myself entirely, and now it's chipping away at a couple of things one at a time, which is very counterintuitive of me because I like a bunch and then I get overwhelmed
Yeah.
And now I'm at that enough. Stay
But
here.
it sounds to me like you've got a good handle on what's important to you.
Yes, and I'm trying to, because I can get I overthink, so I can get very lost in that. And I'm giggling because it's just very accurate. So I'm giggling a lot right now because so much is going
Yeah.
through my head. And
Well, it's the truth. It's once you tap into it, once you understand it, it's so great. So, for example, this is kind of a neat month, September, because whatever your life path number is, you are in a personal month, which is the same as your life path number. So, for example, my life path number is a 7. September is a 7 personal month for me. In your case, your life path number is a 9. So your personal month is a 9. Okay, so what you do is you take your life path number, you're going to take your life path number, look at that, and say, okay, well, I'm a 9, which means I've got to recognize what I need to release and let go of. I've got to recognize what I need to finish, kind of thing. And now you're in this energy of September, which for you is a 9 personal month. And that is going to cause you to feel like, yeah, I do kind of need to wrap things up a little bit. I got to, release that which is no longer serving me well. I'm feeling like there's too much clutter around. I got to get rid of all that stuff and get ready for that new start, which will start again for you in October.
Wow. So that's what I mean. Like, that's where I find it. Yeah, that's crazy to me.
And you're already in touch with that. You already feel it. So that's great.
Well, and I have to say too, like, you just even going through the process of a reading.
Yeah.
I've taken away a lot of information, yes, and organized, and I read through it, and I love my little notes and stuff that I make. But it's what it's provided, I think, even for people to know it's the after, right? So it's not so much that you get a reading and then you have all these questions and they magically get answered necessarily, but it's very much providing a self-awareness and an affirmation in a lot of ways. There's a clarity that happens. I will speak from personal experience that there's a clarity that happens that it's like, I'm not just crazy. It's not in my head. It's like here to go through the process with you and sort of to have things explained and broken down. Very much has provided that makes sense. Like that's kind of what I said a lot in our reading was like, that makes that makes sense. That makes sense. And walking away just with that, like, I mean, you get so much more, obviously, but just that feeling alone was very helpful in a lot of my own internal questions and dialogues, and that feeling like, okay, I'm not nuts. I'm not nuts. It's real. I feel it. It's here. And there's some guidance as to the whys and the ideas of vibrations, which I am a firm believer of. For how things just kind of came and tied together just makes a lot of sense. So,
there's I find it so helpful, especially when it comes to raising our kids, right? For example, if you have a child whose life path number happens to be a 2, we know right out of the gate that child is somebody who's going to deal much better in a smaller classroom environment, right? They're not going to cope well with the chaos of a big, busy 35 student classroom environment, right? They won't thrive in that kind of thing because they need quiet one-on-one interaction, right? The child that has a 5 life path number is the kid that's going to be very easily distracted, very easily bored. Right? Very easily distracted and bored. You cannot ask them to sit in their chair for hours on end. You're just asking for a disaster and a meltdown, right? So understand that child is not going to learn. How do I phrase this? I don't want to say they won't learn, but they're a little bit more selective in what they learn, because unless you're teaching them something that is of interest and of value to them right now in the moment, it's going to go right over their heads. They're very selective on what they put up here on the hard drive, right? My son's a case in point. I think I told you about him. He's a 5. And when he was in grade 7 and they were teaching him algebra, he'd come home and say, why do I have to learn algebra? And I'd be like, because it's part of the curriculum. So just get back there and put your nose to the grindstone and just learn it. but A plus B equals C is never going to help me buy my groceries in the real world. And he wasn't wrong.
He wasn't wrong.
He wasn't wrong, right? So he just refused to learn it. It wasn't that he couldn't learn it. He's extreme. You know, he never went on to post-secondary education because he learns through doing, and he's self-made, almost millionaire. Like he's done really well at 39 years old. So he didn't. You know, the school system kind of failed him because they weren't able to really push his buttons the way he needed to have them pushed. And it's not the school system's fault. It just is what it is, right? But I'm just saying that there's different. Yeah, there's, you know, you're going to have the child who is the 9. You're a 9, right? So the 9s are the empaths, right?
Yeah.
Super sensitive. If something horrible has happened at school, if a child's, one of his classmates' parents died in a tragic death or whatever, the 9 is going to take that to heart, and you got to keep an eye on that child because they're really going to internalize that. They feel the pain. They know if the teacher's going through a hard time. They'll be super sensitive to that.
Yeah.
So, you know, so just understanding what life path number is so incredibly helpful because then you can put your children in activities or situations that will allow them to be challenged in positive ways and maybe have a better chance at being successful.
And that was taking the month. Sorry, so one more time, just
the month. Yeah. So when you're figuring out the life path number, you're going to take the month of birth and you're going to reduce that to a single digit. So for example, October is the 10th month. 1 plus 0 equals 1.
Got it.
Or a master number. So if the child was born in, or a person was born in November, that's the 11th month. That's a master number. We're not going to reduce that. We leave it alone as a master number.
I'm writing it down.
It's okay. Yeah.
So month.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else. Then we go to the day, and we're going to reduce that to a single digit. So let's use an example, 28th day. 2 plus 8 equals 10. That's still a double digit. Got to reduce it one more time. 1 plus 0 equals 1.
Got it.
Right? 27th day, 2 plus 7 equals 9. In the case of a child born on, or a person, keep talking kids here, but somebody born on the 11th day or the 22nd day, those are what we call master numbers. When the numbers repeat themselves, 1, 1 or 2, 2, we're going to leave those as whole numbers. We don't reduce those. Okay, same as November. You don't reduce that because it's a master number 11. Leave it alone. But when we come into the day, it could be an 11 or a 22. Leave those alone. Don't reduce them. The same with the year. 1 plus 9, or 1985. No, let's use 1984. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 8 is 18, plus 4 is 22. That's a master number. Don't reduce it.
Okay.
1959. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 9 is 24, and 2 and 4 equal 6. Okay, so when you get those reduced numbers, month, day, year, reduce those to a single digit or a master number, and that's how you come up with your life path number. I'll actually send you a link to a video I created on how to calculate your life path number if you want.
That's perfect. Yeah, I will, and I'll include it. That's amazing. Even just for people to start with that, just interest, and I think that would spark a lot.
Yeah.
And then go from there.
Yeah. I'm making note here to send that to you.
I have someone, and again, I will not say names, but I have someone that I'd be interested in getting some information on.
Okay.
If you will, based on numbers. So December 19th of 1962.
All right. So we know that December is the 12th month. So we're going to add that together. 1 plus 2 equals 3.
Yep.
This person was born on the 19th day. Yep. It's a double digit. We're going to reduce it again. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. So bring it down to 1. And then 1962, 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 6 is 16, plus 2 is 18, and 1 and 8 equals 9. So when we add 3 plus 1 plus 9, it comes to 13. And 1 and 3 equal 4. Now, the interesting thing about this person's date of birth is that right at the get-go, I'm looking at that person going, oh, this is an older soul. How do I know that? Well, first of all, this person was born on the 19th day, and I know that the 19th day indicates a karmic debt. So that means that he has agreed, or she has agreed, to come back and work on cleaning up some bad behavior from a previous lifetime. Okay. So there are 4 karmic debts that we look at in numerology. The number 13, which is what this person's life path number is. So that's another indicator that we're dealing with an old soul. So number 13, number 19.
Yeah.
Sorry, 13, 14, 16, and 19.
Okay.
Those are all karmic debt numbers, and each one means something. So, for example, this person born on the 19th day has said, okay, I get it. I was a bit of a hard-ass leader in a previous lifetime. I was kind of brutal. You know, I stomped on people like bugs to get ahead. I wasn't very nice in that respect. It was all about me being successful. Look at me, I'm all that. Right. So I better make amends for that bad behavior. So make no confusion, guys. This is not about being punished. You know, people are like, oh, karmic debt. You're like, oh God, I must have been horrible. Yeah, you might not have been the best, but you agreed to come and make amends for that behavior. So you can have a clean slate moving forward. Because every lifetime is about evolution, trying to do a little bit better than the last time, right?
Right.
So in this case, this person is here to learn how to be a leader again in this lifetime. Right. Remember, this is sitting in the day of birth, which produces that sub-lesson. I'm supposed to be learning how to be a better leader, but this time I'm meant to put other people ahead of myself. How do I know that? Because it's a 1-9-1. The 9 in there is the empath. The 9 in there is the person that's saying, I'm all about humanity. I'm all about helping that person go up that corporate ladder. Rather than making it all about me climbing up that ladder, I'm using this as a metaphorical term, of course, but it's going to be about me helping that person get ahead. Rather than shining the light on me this time, I'm going to shift the light over to them and shine it on them and help them to get ahead. So rather than being a hard-ass leader like they were in a previous lifetime as the 19-1, this time around they're aspiring to be a more gentle leader with the goal to help them rather than to help ourselves. Okay? When we go on to look at this person's life path number, we know that the life path number is a 13-4 that says in a previous lifetime, this person wasn't very focused, wasn't very disciplined, wasn't very... they just didn't pay attention to the details. They're kind of on the lazy side. So in this lifetime, they probably have turned into a workaholic because they know they have to prove to people that they are good hard workers, that they have sound work ethic, and that they are responsible and diligent with the details. But the thing with the 13-4 is their ability to focus is really quite great. The problem is they have a tendency to focus on what isn't right rather than what is. So they kind of tend to be a little bit on the negative side, always finding fault in things, right? Yeah.
Yes. The answer is yes, and that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah.
That's a very hammer on the nail. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
very negative sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, and the thing is that this particular person is wired for success. So if they see something that's wrong or that might impede the success of moving forward, or something that could be improved upon, they're wired to see that. But it comes across in a negative way because they're always focused on what's not right rather than what is.
Right.
There's a book written by Kenny Blanchard. It was written years and years ago. It's called The 1 Minute Manager. And Kenny Blanchard's theory was you have to run around finding people doing things right. That's how you manage people. You don't run around finding fault in them and correcting them. You run around finding what they're doing right. And you make that your mantra for the day. And then when you have to go to them and say, hey, do you think maybe we could try something a little different? Maybe this isn't working. They're very open to listening to you because they're just like, oh my God, this guy thinks I'm amazing. I'm going to do anything for him. So it's an incredible book. Everybody needs to read that book, especially if you're raising kids. Like, it's so good.
Wow. 1 minute, put it in the notes, but 1 Minute Manager?
Yeah, The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. So good. So good. So I mean, you think about it. If you run around finding people doing something wrong all the time, they're going to tune you out after a while. So that's kind of what this person's about, is learning to be that person. That's what they're aspiring to be, is rather than focusing on what's wrong and the half empty cup, this person has to work very hard to work on the half full cup.
And interestingly, I found this person in recent, there's definitely been, I think, a transformative couple of years where I've noticed that more.
Yeah.
There's more of an effort
Right.
to
Well, that makes sense.
be more positive and to try and I've noticed it with this person that there's a shift and like we've all kind of
Yeah.
what? Like what? What happened? Are you happy? Like what?
Yeah.
We've all a bunch of us have really taken to the this is something different here. So I
Yeah.
wanted to say that because I feel like it's sometimes change takes time.
Change
And
does take time, and it's a very good observation you're making, Stephanie, because what you're talking about, what I feel you're talking about is that the fact that everybody comes in with what we call a soul's contract. So everybody comes in with an agreed bunch of lessons that we're intended to learn.
yeah.
And hopefully by the time you get to the age that this person is, they will have learned some of those lessons.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual for you to observe a bit of a shift from the negative to the positive, because that's what we would hope for, right?
And I think it's just important for people to know that it doesn't mean that part of numerology, it's that process, right? So it's
Yeah.
not that you have this, like you said before, and I wanted to reiterate, it's not a sentence that this is exactly how it is.
Yeah.
Not at all. It's very much a progressive thing that can take
Mhm.
time and based on the lessons you need to learn and how you learn them. And,
Yeah.
or in my case, how many times you have to repeat behaviors or patterns before you're like, oh, yeah, okay.
That's a
Um,
seven thing.
that's,
We're
that's,
both, you and I were both born on the 25th day. So yeah, there you go.
yeah, takes a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no doubt we'll get there.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
how many times
Mhm.
do
Yep.
things or behaviors until we break those types of things. But in with this particular person, it's happened later.
Yeah.
There's definitely shifts and changes that are being observed that are nice to see despite age, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
despite they're nice shifts to see, and then it's almost refreshing in a lot of ways. So
Oh, yeah. I mean, the growth's amazing. There's
yeah,
no question. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're just looking at the date of birth right now. We're not even looking at the name on the birth certificate. The
right. You mentioned
yeah, the name on the birth certificate is not something that we choose. We do choose the vibration of our birth name, because the birth name produces the talents and the gifts that we want to bring forward with us to support us on our journey as to whatever life path number we've chosen, right?
right,
Um, a case in my case, I chose to come in as a 16-7, so I'm overcoming some karmic debt, cleaning
right.
up that mess,
Mhm.
and I am also encouraged to be the spiritual teacher who teaches through her own personal experiences. So I've come to learn that life isn't happening to me; life is happening through me and for me. And every time I go through something that's a little bit challenging, I think, oh, okay, so what do I need to learn from this so I can pass it on to the next one, right? Someone else can benefit. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is with the sevens have a tendency to really enjoy time by themselves. They love to meditate. They love to read spiritual books. They like to work by themselves. They want to be out in nature, all that. But that wouldn't make me a very good spiritual teacher if I kind of hung out by myself reading my books all the time.
Mm.
So I chose the vibration of the number 5 to come in to be my expression number, which says, I can do live YouTube or Facebook or whatever. I can do all that. I can do radio. I can do TV. I can do whatever you want me to do. I have no fear of that, because that's the strength that I brought with me, so I could become the best I could be as a spiritual teacher.
That's amazing.
That's from the full birth name, and then we look at just the vowels in your birth name. Tell us, what are you passionate about? Because many people don't know. I ask people all the time. What are you passionate about? What do you really want to do? I have no idea. And it's usually because there's kind of like you, in that you're the overgiver, right? And you're always looking for opportunities to give, but you fail to see what it is you need. So you spend all these years being that one that keeps putting it out there for everybody else, and you lose sight of who you are. So, but if you know that going in, then you can work on it.
And it's easier to catch. I've found like it's easier to, again, patterns are patterns sometimes, harder, but you can catch. I find I catch myself more.
Yeah.
I know what I really want to say right now, so I'm made the decision to say the opposite.
Yes.
And that's been, and again, it's it's taken time and it probably still
Yeah.
will, but it's the awareness of it and it's the clarity of it, almost to give myself or people permission
Yep.
to sort of have that, and going forward, know that it's okay, answer different, choose different. Or if I'm choosing the same or to help or whatnot, then I do it with more intention. It's like, no, this is actually what I really want to be doing, or I really do want to help. And it almost gives myself that less guilt or sort of
Yeah.
weight, that because it's more intentional, it's more purposeful, that I understand myself better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you're becoming the observer.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've noticed about myself, I've been doing a lot of shadow work this year because this is
Mm.
a year 7 for me. So it's a lot of quiet introspection and reflection. And now when I get irritated with somebody, my first reaction is, rather than just being irritated with them,
Yeah.
I pause for a second and go, okay, am I irritated at them or am I irritated at me? Who am I really irritated at? And it's at 99.9% of the time, it's me. It's I'm standing in judgment of somebody else, but really I'm judging myself.
Yeah, and it's so I've come to coin the, and it's not my phrase. It was from a manifestation group that I have, and it was, "What is this mine?" So, is this mine or is this someone else's? Sometimes the energy of me as someone very empathic, having a great day, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what the shift is or the change is, and then all of a sudden, I don't feel right or I'm off, and my partner's like, "What is wrong with you? What just
Yeah.
happened?" Like, and I can't peg it.
Yeah.
So when they ask you, like, "Well, how's your day?" And I'm like, "I think I'm having a bit of an off day, and I can't tell you why."
Yeah.
And again, instead of feeling for a very long time, like, I feel crazy because I'm like, I have no reason to be upset right now. Like, and but I don't feel upbeat, or I don't feel positive, or I don't feel right. And it's taken like the past year or two to ask myself, okay, what happened yesterday, today, the past week? Who was I talking to? What are they going through?
Mhm.
What is
Mhm.
mine? What is not mine? And
Exactly.
really start with that. And that,
Mhm.
although maybe very simplistic in saying, has
Mhm.
changed a lot for me, to
Yeah.
be like, this actually is not mine. And I need to figure out a way to cut that, or
Yeah.
not, or deal with it, or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
but that awareness has taken that ability to question
Mhm.
what is going on, and who was
Right.
I around? What did I hear? What happened? That's not directly to me, that I heard or was involved in, or what have you. And that has helped a lot. I,
Well, just knowing that if I remember correctly, you've got 2 9s in your chart.
mhm,
I'm trying to remember your chart. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I think you've got 2 9s in your chart there. And being born on the 25th day, you've got that 7 sitting there.
mhm,
So that's a huge need to be the fixer. So that's that huge need to,
yeah,
I have to hang on to that. I have to feel that. If I'm going to fix it, I have to feel it.
mhm,
It's like, who am I if I'm not of service to other people?
mhm,
So I better take that on. I've got a friend of mine who's like this. It's like she's nobody unless she's got drama, in her life. Unless there's something for her to worry about or be upset about, it's like she has no value
yeah,
whatsoever. So, but knowing that you've got all that 9 energy in your chart, you're already wired to know
mhm,
that that is your inclination, is to take on everybody's crap,
yeah,
and to feel everybody's stuff. And it is also your responsibility to figure out, is it mine or is it someone else's?
and give it back.
Right,
If it's
exactly.
not mine, and I take it
And
back.
to forgive yourself for taking it on that harshly in the first place.
Yeah,
Forgiveness is, oh man, I'm learning an awful lot about that this year. The forgiveness is key. I had a situation as a child where my grandmother called me a stupid child when I was 9 years old. Now, most people could go, she was bitchy that day, whatever.
yeah,
But I wasn't able to do that. I chose to grab onto that and go, oh, that's who I am, kind of thing. And it
mhm,
haunted me for a very, very long time, up until recently, to be perfectly honest. And it was a friend of mine who actually mentors empaths.
mhm,
And she said, it's not your grandmother you have to forgive. It's yourself for adopting that belief in the first place.
yeah,
And that's huge. That was a huge pivotal shift for me, was to recognize that, she just doing the best she could at the time. Her words were as a result of upbringing that she had,
it's-
how she was influenced. And actually, when we really tracked it back, it went back about 6 generations when that ugly seed was planted initially.
100%.
So, yeah, but we always have a choice as to how we feel about ourselves. Talk about the inner child and whatnot, but it sounds a little out there. But we do have a responsibility to that inner child, because what we believe is what we're telling that inner child. And would you talk to your own child like that?
Yeah.
Right? Would you set ridiculous expectations for that child?
Would you put it on your own kid?
Yeah.
Odds are, and usually the answer is, I would never, right?
Right.
Like, I would never. Therefore, why would you do it? Why would you do it to yourself and allow that out there?
Exactly. So much to learn.
And I'm going to thank you, and I'm going to call it here.
My pleasure.
This was amazing, and I will include all of your contact and your website information, because I think if anyone has ever considered it, or hopefully they will after this goes. But, it was amazing, and I truly, truly thank you so much for doing this with me. My first one.
So, you did great. You did
great so much.
No, you're so welcome. Thanks for including me, and I wish you all the best with your project.
Thank you. You will. Thanks, Anne.
All right, hon. Take care.
I don't know how to end it. I don't. So, but it's going to
top right-hand corner in broadcast.
I'm going to end it, but I think it's going to hang up on you. I'm going to edit this part.
Don't worry about editing it. It's all good. We're all learning.
I think I'm going to end it. So here we go. But anyways, if I don't see you, I'll talk to you later.
You will. Just end the broadcast.
All right. Thanks.